All right. Welcome to the final tribal council of Cutthroat Survivor Season 4, Risk versus Reward, Anatolia. So, we have our final three. We have Jordan, Kyle D, and Steve. You guys, congratulations. You made it as far as you can in this game. And in a few moments, you'll have a chance to address the jury and ask them to vote for you as the winner of this game. So first, before we start, I just want to thank everyone here for playing in this season. You made it a lot of fun to host, and I'm excited to get to this last chapter. So we're going to start with opening speeches. Steve will go first, followed by Kyle, followed by Jordan. So Steve, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Hello, everyone. This is Steve, if you guys don't know me. I just want to talk about my game here. So from the beginning, I already knew I was at the bottom of my tribe. I wasn't in any alliances, at least the majority. I had to really play at the mercy of other people, and I just had to really try to survive and not make myself a bigger target than I really was. Sorry, I'm really bad at speeches. So my name was thrown out at every round, and I managed to survive because other people either played too aggressively or made themselves a bigger threat than me. And once I hit the merge, my name was the first name out because I was the weakest connected person since I had no allies. All my allies left pre-merge. I had to really find people to work with, and I was able to align with Kyle S., Bailey, Phil, and Josh, and they definitely protected me that vote, and we voted out Corey. Corey was a big obstacle in my game. He said my name every round that I went to Tribal, and when he left, I was able to really have my foot in the game. My game did a complete 180. I went from being at the very bottom to someone who had a good foot in this game. I was able to really bond with my alliance, and we worked together for a couple rounds before it blew up. It was crazy because every tribal at the merge was a big move. No matter what happened, something big happened. It was unexpected. People were blindsided, and even I was blindsided a couple times. But for me as a player, I was very flexible. It was not about who blindsided who did what to me. It was a game about how do I move forward with whoever's left, and how would this benefit my game and position myself to move forward in this game. I felt I was really able to connect well with others and have alliances that protected me, and in return I helped protect them as much as I could. The people I was aligned with, the Corey Slayers, they were probably the 4 biggest threats in this game to win, and had that alliance made it to Final 5, I probably would have lost to every single one of them. So I could not just sit with them at the end, even though they already were going after each other, so it didn't matter. So my first big move that I felt changed my game was taking out Bailey. She basically ran Coltepe the whole pre-merge, and if she didn't want you in the game, she was going to take you out. So I had to be someone that Bailey really wanted to work with, and I trusted Bailey a lot. It's just when Bailey had to go, she was really close to Kyle S. and Phil, and had they made it to Final 7 together, I think they would have made it really far in this game as a 3 if they worked together. I just feel like my social game was my biggest point in this game. I went from someone who had a big target on my back to someone who had no target. I was able to really use my social game to move forward in this game, to really know what was going on. And I was flexible. I changed alliances when I had to, and I had to lie because if I didn't lie in this game, people would just easily take me out, because my relationships with people was important to me. And if they knew I was gonna go against them, they could easily flip the whole game and try to vote me out. I really did my best. I played this game with everything I had. And I hope that you guys can see that I tried my best and I did not just sit around and do nothing. I worked my ass off in this game. And I hope that you guys see that I was very social, strategic, and tried my best in the challenges. And I'll answer all your questions to the best of my ability. Thank you. Sorry if that was awkward.
Thank you, Steve. Good job. Next up, we have Mr. Kyle D. Take it away, Kyle.
Hey guys, you all look very nice tonight. So I have played a few of these orgs, and I've been on a jury twice now. So I do know the challenge that you guys face tonight. Hopefully it's a difficult challenge for you guys to face. When the game first started, I immediately noticed on the other tribe that I had 3 people that I knew prior to this game, which consisted of Gwen, Jordan, and Julian. So my strategy became immediately, if I can navigate through this pre-merge and get to the merge with those 3 intact, that I feel like my game would be pretty golden at that point. And then as luck would have it, I fell into a pretty solid majority alliance in my tribe, which consists of Bailey, Corey, Matt, Phil, and myself, which was a pretty amazing alliance, I would have to say. I did learn through one of those challenges where we were able to talk to the other tribe that Gwen and Jordan were in a majority alliance on a COD, which made everything even better, because then I was thinking to myself, like, okay, if me and my alliance can get to merge and Gwen and Jordan and their alliance can get to merge, we could really have like our alliances taking each other out, getting rid of the people who aren't in the alliance, and having a final 8 bloodbath. That was my ultimate goal. Much like my dating life, nothing goes as planned. I made it to merge as the cockiest dude on the planet, and I found myself immediately on the bottom because Bailey and Phil decided to jump ship and target Corey, which completely derailed my game at that point. I do think a defining moment in the game, though, was when I was able to bid on safety without power. When I came back from Exile Island, I came into the failed Phil blindside, and I was elated because what had happened was Phil and Bailey came back to me to use me to get out the people who tried to blindside them, and then Josh was talking to me for the first time, which was to get Bailey out. And so I really felt like I would put myself into a better position at that point. Everything Josh was saying to me that round, though, it did go in one ear and out the other, as my ultimate goal in the game at that point was to work with Bailey and Phil. I liked them pre-merge. I was very disappointed that they backstabbed me, and I wanted to continue working with them again. I knew Bailey, I had a feeling Bailey was going that round, but I still chose to vote with them because I was hoping, by the grace of God, she had an idol, or that Phil would play his idol on her. I do want to address the elephant in the room, which is my challenges performance. I would love more than anything to be sitting here and to tell you guys that I threw every single challenge, but that is not the truth. What you saw was me giving my 110%. So I just really, really suck at the challenges. But with that being said, it quickly became apparent, though, that if you were winning challenges, that meant that you were a quick target and an easy person to get out. So when I found myself at the final 7, I knew that I was getting into the final 3. No one was coming after me. Everybody wanted to take me to the end. I was being seen as a GOAT. And so I cemented that spot, and I basically tried to work with people to get out the big threats. You know, and no offense to my other finalists when I say this, But like, I would love more than anything to see a Phil win or a Jeremy win this game. However, I would really, really love to see myself win the game. And so it was important to vote with Jordan and Steve to vote those two out. And then every round I just tried to make the threats feel like I was okay with losing next to them, while continuing on to get to the end of the game. So that's it.
All right, thank you. Jordan, you are going to be the last finalist to give your opening speech, so go ahead.
All right. I got my timer set, so I actually go the 5 minutes. Before I go into my speech, I want to thank production for casting me this season, and I want to thank everyone that I played with. This has been a fun 35 days. So why you guys should vote for me? Well, if we look at the acronym and the saying in Survivor, it is to outwit, outplay, and outlast the rest. And I feel like in a couple of those categories and going into the outlast category, I beat both Steve and Kyle here today. So with outwit is usually seen as the social game. And my social game, I feel like, was better than Steve's and Kyle's. In a COD, I was part of the majority alliance that pretty much ran the first couple votes. However, when Roma decided to target me around like final 16, final 17, I should have been gone. However, it was people like Gwen, and it was people like Josh, and it was people like Kyle S. that valued me over other people on our tribe that got me to stay. And not only that, but I turned it around. And instead of us planning to just vote for like Julian to go that round or Clash that round, we turned it around, mainly me, to turn it around onto Roma. And then Roma was sent home. Roma was a big part of what was happening on a COD. And he had multiple alliances and multiple final twos. And I was able to get him out there. At the swap, yes, I got lucky. I got into the majority of the swap on my tribe. However, I recognized that Clash was someone that had to go. Clash was flipping on a COD. So we as a group decided to vote out Clash there. And we picked up Jeremy, who Jeremy on the very first night of that swap, he literally spilled his entire game to me. He said everything about the dynamics. He said everything about who was working with who. He did it with everybody, but he did it to save his own ass. And we used that to get him to the merge. So Jeremy wouldn't be at the merge had it been for us. Now we're at the merge, and I have multiple alliances going at once. There was the Stoners Alliance. That was me, Michael, Gwen, and Kyle S. Then we have the Bitches Alliance, which I don't know if the jury knows about it by now. The Bitches Alliance was myself, Josh, Kyle S., Phil, and Bailey. And I was added to another alliance on the first night of the merge, which consisted of Kyle D, Gwen, and Corey. Those three had played a game together, and they added me because I was part of that group. Like, I was part of the experienced org players. And obviously Gwen's had some reactions, so she can clarify that. But I was added to all those alliances. At the merge, Phil and Bailey were worried about this Gwen, Kyle, and Corey trio. And I knew that trio was a thing. I knew that they were all working together and wanted to take each other to the end. So what did we do? I divulged that information to Josh and Kyle S. We were able to flip that thing and put the votes onto Corey that round. Also, that round, I was playing double agent. I was acting like I didn't vote out Corey or I was blindsided by that vote, but I was actually one of the votes for Corey. And I had to do that to protect myself from getting targeted by Kyle D and Gwen and Michael and that group and that side. And I was able for them to funnel in information. Kyle D, right after that vote, divulged that Bailey and Kyle S knew each other. He did that right away to me after how much of a blindside he was on that. So then going into the rest of the merge, I was always playing the middle. And everyone recognized that I was always in the middle of everything that was happening. And people always needed me as a vote. And I was okay with that. Because nobody saw me as a number one target, but people recognized that I wasn't necessarily on the bottom. I always knew what was happening. There was only 2 times in the merge I didn't know what was happening. And one of those times, I actually still got my way with Gwen going and then with Julian going after that. The only time I was truly blindsided was the Josh vote. And that was because Jeremy went rogue and voted with Kyle to take Josh out, which was fine by me because I was willing to cut Josh before the final 3 anyway. So they just did the dirty work for me there anyway. Now, the conditions of the game is kind of like the outplace portion. The coins, I don't think the other 2 talked about it. Coins were a big thing in this season. I was the first person to get a black token, and that should have ruined my game. However, whatever, clock, we're just gonna ignore you. The coins situation, I got the first black token, and I played the game without having that many coins. However, at a certain point at the final 6, I was able to get Steve to divulge 3-4 of his coins to me, and then I was able to buy a double vote. And even though Kyle S didn't play an idol, had Kyle S even played an idol that round he was still going home because I got Jeremy also to play a golden vote. And our 2 golden votes would have sent Kyle S home anyway. And then at that point, I recognized that Steve and Kyle D were my best bets to make it to the end. I won the last 2 immunity challenges. Steve only won 1. So in the aspect of challenges, social relationships, alliances, and all of that, I outdo what Steve and Kyle D did.
All right. Thank you, Jordan. And now we'll take a commercial break. So this is where I give an exit line. So we'll give you a minute to think about your questions.
Can I go pee?
Do you need to go pee?
Yes.
Run, go pee. Take 1 minute break. Jesus.
Guys, I think he needs to go cry.
Wow. We're still alive. This is not a commercial for real break.
I know.
Michael. Michael is first.
Okay, before I begin...
Wait. Go.
Cool. So before I go into this, I will now become Bad Michael. This final 3, I pretend I do not see it. But in all honesty, congratulations. I wanted to be there. I'm not. It's sad. So before we get into the negative aspects of tonight, because there's going to be a lot, I would like to say thank you to production for hosting us, and you did a great job. So I will now move on to Steve. You wanna say hi?
Oh, hey, what's up?
Hi. So I'm going to say something you'll probably be hearing a lot tonight, and that's you're not getting my vote. So, but I do have a question for you. So let's pretend in an alternate universe, there's a final 2, and unfortunately, you're the 9th and final juror. Which of your fellow finalists should I not vote to win, and why?
Well, every juror votes their own way, and I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but if I had to personally vote for myself between Kyle D and Jordan, I never even thought of it. I would, because obviously if they were final 3 with someone else that's not me, I would vote for their person. But
well, it's final 2,
the
so
2 of them, just based on logical gameplay, I would vote for Jordan. But if based on social relationships, I would vote for Kyle D. It's just, it has to be based on their speeches and everything else. It's just, it's not a black and white decision.
Okay, I'm just gonna move on. I only have 10 minutes, no offense. So Kyle D. So I came into this originally voting for Jordan, but your speech and how good you're looking at Blazer is kind of changing my mind right now. So I would like you to walk us through the use of the exile power, because a lot of jurors found it to be an unnecessary risk and really a shot in the dark that you had no idea the outcome of those 2 tribal councils. So can you tell us how it's a good thing that you played that advantage and how you utilized the advantage basically?
Yeah, I absolutely think that it was, and maybe it wasn't initially or out of it a good move, but basically, Gwen, Corey, and myself were painted as this trio. I was completely blindsided with the Corey vote, and then that twist came up where I could do the safety without power. So naturally, my first instinct was like, oh my God, this twist is completely easy for everyone because two tribals, that's Gwen and that's Kyle, boom, you just got rid of the trio. I had no idea that there was a plan to blindside Phil. So yes, maybe I still would be here if I didn't use that safety without power. But because of that idol being played, I don't think Julian would have gone home. I think it still would have been Gwen and myself. So I think that was very important move in the game to make. And that's really why I did it, was because I all those idols had just gotten played at that last tribal council. So I knew I gave Gwen 2 tokens to play her idol. So I knew she had 0. Julian just played an idol. So I knew he had little. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw in the tokens. I might be the only one that bid anything, but even if I was not the only one, I probably was the one that bid the most. So I enjoyed my Exile Island, and I honestly think that I probably wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for that Exile Island.
Okay, that's a brilliant answer. Thank you. So moving on finally to Jordan. You know, like I said to Kyle, I am probably most likely going to vote you because I do think you played a pretty solid game. And honestly, that final speech, wow, I'm honestly pretty shocked. I did not know you had that in you. So a lot of the jurors, myself included, kind of feel like we didn't really get to know you. And that you're kind of like a stone cold, like ruthless player, which I don't think you are like a ruthless person, but compared to Steve and Kyle, who are more personable, you definitely are lacking in the social area. So I would like you to give us 3 fun facts about yourself.
All right, 3 fun facts.
3 fun facts.
The first fun fact is that I went to school at a small town called West Branch, and West Branch is actually home to the 31st president of the United States, Herbert Hoover. And it was actually living in a town like that and being exposed to all of that type of stuff actually made me want to pursue like politics as like a career and like going to history and all that. Like it was a major influence on myself. The second fun fact I would say would be that the Tennessee Titans are my favorite NFL team. I know, obviously, when you guys see the little sign right there, that it's like a big part of my life in a kind of sad way. But like being a fan of that team has led me to actually visit like Nashville and like exploring that city, which Nashville is like one of my favorite cities. And it's made me kind of understand and love like kind of like team stuff, like team aspect type of stuff, and like also sports as well. And then the third fun fact is that my middle name is Michael. So if you put it together, Jordan Michael Baldwin, actually my dad was a big Chicago Bulls fan, and Michael Jordan was obviously the best player ever for the Bulls, probably in NBA history. And he named me after that. And even if I was a girl, because they didn't know the gender of me until I popped out of my mom's thing, I was gonna be Jordan no matter what. So I think it's just the influence of all of that has kind of made me who I am today. And to answer, I know it wasn't what you asked, but I am a hard person to get to know of. I don't really share too much about me personally, just because I'm kind of take a lot of things in. Like that's kind of a little bit my introverted personality kicking in. But it's been something I've been trying to work on. And I also think the whole like stone cold aspect, like working in politics and being exposed to that stuff, you kind of have to be stone cold and kind of ruthless to get what you want. And I knew it was something that I was always afraid of whenever I brought it up in these type of settings, because it would be something I would get targeted for. So I do apologize if like you or like other people didn't really get to know me like more deep on a deeper level.
No, okay, thank you. That was a brilliant answer. So I'm going to take this off because I can't see shit. Yeah, so congratulations to the rest of you. I know I may have been a little bit harsh to you guys, but it's nothing compared to the storm that you guys have. So good luck. I'm glad it's not me.
All right, well, thank you, Michael Ponderosa King. Next up, from the first person voted out, we're going to go to the most recent person voted out. Phil, aka Phyllis, aka Pox, you are up.
What's up, guys? Obviously, I wish I was sitting where you were sitting, but I'm going to do my absolute best to be as, not bitter as possible. Huge Survivor fan, and I hate when juries are bitter. So I'm trying to be as, objective as possible, no subjectivity. So I want to vote for a person who I feel like could be an excellent capstone for this season. I want to feel proud of being on this season. I don't want to vote for someone who I can be proud of. So I guess in 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes, however much time you have, I'd love for you guys each, one by one, to give me what you feel is the general overarching story of this season and how you fit in and how you would be just an emotionally satisfying winner, so that 6 months from now, a year from now, I can think back on this and I can be like, yeah, I'm wicked happy that I voted for Steve, or I'm wicked happy that I voted for Kyle, or I'm wicked happy that I voted for Jordan. I want you to give me a complete story in as concise a way as you can that will give me a compelling reason to vote for each single one of you. So I don't know how you want to do it, but whichever one of you wants to go first, I'd love to hear it.
I guess I can just start. Oh.
Okay.
Kyle, do you want to go first? I don't care.
It doesn't matter. I don't care.
Yeah,
But I'll
go
go
first.
since
You go first.
So just I think that with what you said about a storyline and the arc, I feel like my pre-merge game was solid. I was having a good time, a great time, and then just getting that carpet pulled out from under you, and then just kind of figuring out where you fit in, what you're doing. And I think that I navigated that really, really well. I feel like I probably had the least amount of tokens at all times. So I definitely had to navigate this game without the extra votes, golden votes, tokens. I gave my friends tokens when they needed them, and which I thought would advance both of us in the game or whatever. So I just think that storyline is really my storyline, and I think that would make me a good winner, being at the top and falling all the way to the bottom.
I say the reason I would be a satisfying winner is because, as some of you may know, CMEC always talks about it. I had an episode title named after me in the previous season. So in the whole Cutthroat canon, I was already kind of a thing. So when they asked me to play on the season, I was a little hesitant, but I decided to because obviously quarantine and all that. But I knew when I wanted to play, I was playing for not just myself, but I was playing for the Cutthroat alumni. I was playing for people that I've played with in different games. And I just wanted to show them and prove to everyone that I could play well in these games. In my previous games, there was always something that was a knockoff me, whether it be oh, you got carried to the end, or you were a boring person to watch. I wanted to prove that I could, do this. And I feel also, if we're just looking at the game, I was always someone that was in the majority of the votes. I was somebody that was already in the middle of everything. And I was a person that did it without having to use idols. The only advantage that I really needed to play was the golden vote. I had an extra vote that I held on to the final 16. And the last time I played it, in the time I played it was the last time you could. And really the extra vote didn't really matter in that time. But I never had a purpose and a need to play it. So I just think if you're looking for somebody that's, satisfying in the terms of the story, which my story was, the middleman playing this game, and then also being this known quantity in the series and being someone that I don't think anybody would expect it to make it to this point, I feel that's why I would be satisfying as a winner.
Okay, Phil. So let me tell you about my story. Like Kotape knows, I was at the bottom. I was about to go almost every freaking round, and mainly you and Bailey kept me in this game for someone to potentially work with, because I wasn't crazy like Zach or, bossy like Matt or whatever. So I made it to, the merge, did a 180. I was in a very good spot. Let's be real. At Final 8, every single one of you was like, I want to sit by Steve. So yes, that's like saying Steve, I'm going to beat you at the end. And it's you guys can take me to the end, but I'm going to go my path and take myself there the way I wanted to. And this is Cutthroat Survivor. I backstab a lot of my allies who I really did care for as individuals. And yes, I'm an emotional bitch, you know, like I cry, I over exaggerate everything I do, like I'm dramatic, and it is a hard game, but I did what I had to do to put myself in a position to win this game. And all y'all said it to me the whole time. Jordan and Kyle D are the easiest people to beat, so why should I not go to the end with them? So that's what I did. You guys gave me the opportunity to do it. I had the most social influence in this game, Final 8 and on. I could have taken anyone to the end with me if I wanted to. The only vote, obviously, Josh, I had no idea that you were going. But I had an idea that Jeremy would come after you eventually. It's just, you know, this game is about being flexible. Each round is different, and I was in a good position starting from the bottom, from the beginning, and changing it to where I was definitely a huge social player to influence this game. And I did not just sit around and do nothing. And I definitely played way better socially than Jordan. Like, I don't know why you said you'd play better than me, but I just really do think that everyone underestimated me, and I got it here. And I hope that y'all see that I did play this game and I did not just lay down and just get dragged to the end.
Awesome. I love that. Well, that's pretty much all I got, but I'm just going to say a little bit more because I think I had more time and I love to hear myself talk. Steve, I love you. I feel like you talked to me more than anybody else in this game did, barring maybe Bailey, but I feel like you got to know me more than anybody else did. And I think that's a huge part of the game. And so I really, really respect that. I really respect the social aspect that you put into the game. Kyle, I love you so much, dude. I really hope that I get to come out to see you, dude, and take a shot or two with you because you're the fucking man. And you're literally the shit, and maybe more so than anybody else. I hope I get to see you and party with you because you're just fucking rad. Jordan, I think you played an excellent game. I think you straddled the middle in a really interesting way and in a really impressive way. And you were feeding information to this side and to that side in a way that benefited your game. And at the end of the day, all three of you guys managed to do something that I could not do. You consider the final three, and I think that's hugely impressive. And so I love all three of you, and I just want you to get some great vibes from me because I do love all three of you. And I think the rest of this night might be a little bit rough for y'all, so I want you to know that there's a whole lot of love coming from me, and I hope I can see all you guys on the other side of this thing. Enjoy the rest of the night.
Thank you, Phil. So next up, from one of my favorite jurors to, my other favorite juror, Julian.
Bro, I know what you were wanting to say there. Oh, boy. All
All right,
right.
buddy. You are up.
So congratulations to the three of you for making it through this long and challenging game. So, Steve, you've mentioned a few times that you were mostly taken here because people felt like you, and I've heard you mention a few times that other people kind of took you farther when you were in bad positions. So what are some examples of you having like agency in this game? What are some things that you can sit here and say, yep, Steve is responsible for this?
So, I mean, this is the thing. This is a game, and I'm not an aggressive person. I don't boss people and say, you need to vote this way. I try to influence and give ideas to possible scenarios. The main scenario that I came up with was definitely the golden vote. I talked to Jeremy about it, and I had the tokens to give to Jordan and Jeremy to make sure Kyle S had to leave the game, because obviously taking Kyle S and Phil to Final Five is bizarre. And also, I know when Bailey left, she was already being thrown out as a name, but if I wanted Bailey to stay, she would have stayed. That was a huge part to vote out Bailey, to make sure that Kyle S and Phil didn't really have their strong alliance member. And Bailey had a huge presence in this game, as you guys can tell. from the very beginning. So, and she also influenced me a lot in this game. And yes, people did save me, but it was me talking to people to make them want to save me, to make them want to work with me. I didn't just sit there and be like, been handed a silver platter. Like, I worked for that silver platter by maintaining that relationship with Phil and Bailey the whole time, and working with Josh and talking to him pre-merge, like, hey, like, I don't really have any allies. Like, I would love to work with you. And that's how I got to be able to be in alliance, to take out Corey and change my game around. Like, I definitely put in the work. I did not just sat there and got put on a leash and just walked down to final 3. So, thank you.
Give me 1 second. Okay, so Kyle, Jordan, I kind of have the same. I kind of have the same question for both of you. Why does the other person not deserve to get the jury votes tonight between Kyle and Jordan, and not including Stevens? Whoever wants to go first can.
I think you should vote for Kyle D, and no one should vote for Kyle D, just because he played a great first half of the game. Like, I will give it to him. He played a great pre-merge game. However, there's a second half to the game, and he was immediately blindsided, and he was always playing from the bottom. And it always seemed like we tried to tell Kyle D, hey, this is the vote, or like, this is a plan, and it would just backfire. Like, he would just tell it to Gwen, he will leak it to Phil, or he will leak it to somebody. So, like, we never could include him on any plans. And then also, if it's me against him, like, challenges-wise, like, I won the last 2 immunity challenges, probably the 2 hardest immunity challenges as well. And I think if you want to vote for a person that's played the game consistently for the entire game, then I have him beat there.
Sorry, were you gonna say something, Julian?
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So I was just gonna answer the question on why I should win and Jordan shouldn't not win. I feel like Jordan, I do feel like he's wrong about a few things. People chose to leave me out of the vote, and there was votes where, like, it didn't matter. So I did with what I had to do. And as far as like, I feel like me having like a shit post merge game, Jordan definitely had it set up easy. He was playing both sides, so he had this source of information that was flowing to him that unfortunately I wasn't privy to, and so I had to vote for who I thought needed to go. And so, you know, I tried to orchestrate a Bailey blindside at merge when I found out. And what happened with that was when Corey got voted out, Bailey and Phil were like, we're so sorry, we wanted to tell you, but we were told that we couldn't tell you, but trust me, going forward, we want to continue working with you. So I was like, oh, okay, perfect. And then that second round happened, and Gwen was kind of after Jeremy that whole round, but I knew that I needed Jeremy and Gwen to be with me because that was like all I had left. And it was like 5 minutes before Tribal Council where Phil tells me that he was like, hey, just to let you know, you're not being included in the vote again. It's Michael who's going. And immediately, that's when my rivalry with Bailey began. Like, I was like, okay, she promised me she would never lie to me again, and here she goes. And so I immediately messaged Gwen and Jeremy, and I said, let's go for Bailey. I wanted Bailey gone from that minute. And that just goes to show, like, the merge game that I had to play. Like, it was constantly, like, trying to figure out who's lying to me. And I just felt like Jordan never had to deal with that. Jordan really never was left out. Jordan was always included in the plan, and Jordan was always knowing what's going on. And I think that like just shows volumes of what I had to survive.
Okay. Well, good luck to all of you. Congratulations again on making it here, however you had to do that. And
Julian, you all done?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Julian. Up next, the queen herself. No, not Bailey. Gwen.
Bailey is no queen in my book, bitch. Hold on, I just this is very ironic. I need to message my Uber Eats driver to put this on my porch.
Your time has started.
Don't worry, I don't need it the whole 10 minutes. What's my gate code? Please leave on porch. I am in a very important meeting that I cannot get up from. Okay. Hello, final three. Let me pull up my notes. So, everything that I have to say here is all with love, and I might roast you guys a little bit, but just remember that like we're all gonna be great friends after this, okay? Don't worry, Jordan, I'm not roasting you. You have my vote as of right now. Okay. Okay, so I want to tell you guys a little story about this game. Once upon a time, there were 3 billy goats who were to go up on the hillside to make themselves fat. The name of all 3 was Gruff. Just kidding. That's not the story of this season, except it kind of is. So anyway, I'm going to start with Steve. So Steve, it's ironic that you want to be a dentist because your game made me want to rip my teeth out the entire time. So I want to make
I am a dentist. I don't want to be a dentist.
You already are. I'm sorry. I didn't know that about you because we didn't get close enough for me to know that.
It's okay. I don't really need to know you because you got voted out really early, bitch.
Well, actually, I was just fulfilling Clash's prophecy. And also, I got voted out because I was a huge threat in this game. You just kind of coasted to the end because you're a goat. So
I'm sitting with 2 other goats, so a goat's going to win the season.
Yep, I love both the other goats much better than you. If you get 1 vote tonight, I'm going to be really surprised. Jeremy, if you vote for Steve, I'm never talking to you again. Anyway, so Steve, I wanted to make a deal with you. In exchange for my vote, I would like you to give me free dental care for life.
I don't live by you.
You are a terrible human being for ruining all of my jokes, so you don't deserve my time of day.
Okay.
I had some other questions for you, but honestly, like, I'm not gonna ask them. Kyle D, what the fuck?
Are you referring to you leaving or?
No, I'm referring to Megan.
I know, and I really, I feel like I again, like I said, I put 110% in the challenges. I really wanted to do better in the challenges. I feel like I did what I had to do post-merge to navigate through everything. And so
Kyle, I love you, but you're not answering my questions right now. I didn't ask you a question. Okay. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I do have a question for you though. In the beginning of this tribal, you did say that you would be happy with Phil and Jeremy winning the game, and you didn't say that you'd be happy with me winning the game. So why would I give you my vote if you wouldn't be happy with me winning the game?
And let me correct that. I would be happy with you winning the game. I'd be happy with Bailey winning the game. The reason I used Phil and Jeremy was because at the end point of the game, I was telling both of them that I would be happy to take a second or a third place for them. So I never told you or Bailey that. And so that's why in my speech, I just.
So why do you think it's important to pander for the rest of our votes?
Well, I don't feel like I was pandering though.
No, but I mean, you should.
Yes, I should tell you guys, I should, basically I just should let you guys know you should vote for me because I'm a winner.
Are you
and I believe after tonight I will be, yes. And yes, do I think that you will be an All-Stars? Yes. Do I think Philip will be an All-Stars? Yes. Do I think Jeremy will be an All-Stars? Yes. Do I think Bailey will be an All-Stars? Yes.
If you had to pick one person from the jury to be an All-Stars, who would you pick?
I would pick, it's hard because I haven't viewed the game. But I would say that it would be Jeremy.
Okay, that gives me a great idea of who to vote for. Also, I have a really important question for you. Is Corey gay?
I think he is.
Okay. I'm going to be honest with you. I came into this leaning toward voting for Jordan, and I love you so much. And I know that you're one of my best friends from the org community, but I can't vote for you.
All right.
I'm sorry. I love you, but I can't. Jordan, clearly you have my vote. Is there anything that you want to say in the rest of my time that I have?
I won't be pandering for this portion, but the round that you went, had there been any other
pander away.
If there was any way that I could have potentially saved you, which there was, and no one felt the need to include me, even the two people that I felt closest with in the game, and I told both of them that, hey, if there's a way to save Gwen, I would be all ears for it, then I would have tried everything I could to save you. And I felt like...
Who was pushing to save me that round?
He was pushing to save you. Well, it wasn't necessarily to save you. It was more to get Phil out.
Right, but who was it?
I mean, I would have probably voted to keep you.
I'm not asking this as a question of you trying to pander to me. I'm asking you as your perception on the game. Whether you knew what was happening in the game. Who was the one that was trying to keep you that round?
I think the person that was trying to keep you around was probably like Kyle S., but it wasn't to keep you. It was to take someone else out that was a bigger threat to his game at that time.
Okay.
And I just happened to be I wasn't a part of that.
No. Last thing I have to say is Kyle D, you know I love you so much. You're a winner, and you won my heart even more. So, you know that. I love you guys. Except for Steve. Steve, I fucking hate you. Okay, bye guys. I'm gonna go get my food.
All right. Well, thank you, Gwen. Let's see. Next up, we have the real queen, Bailey.
Yo, what's up, guys? Congratulations on making it to the final 3. I'm not gonna lie, my perception for a very long time, especially like once I found who the final 3 was, is that like, damn, we let the goats get to the end. And I know that was one of the biggest disappointments of the jury when we were talking. We were like, we literally let the goats get to the end, and we had the big players take each other out. And so I give you props, but I am a person who likes making big moves. I like having a big player, so having like a big player win the game. So I would love the biggest player of the 3 of you to 100% win. First off, Kyle D, I love you so much. I think you're an amazing person. I think you're hilarious. I love the fact that you made me Regina George. Nothing but love, absolutely nothing but love. I think you're an incredible person. But at the end of the day, this isn't Miss Congeniality, right? This is Survivor. This is literally Cutthroat. It is in the name. And so I guess my question for you, and I want you to answer completely honest, because I'm going to be honest, I'm very much in the middle between Kyle D and Jordan on this vote. I am. I know you a lot better. I like you better as a person. No offense, Jordan, I just don't know you as well. It's nothing personal. It's you as a human being. But I love you. And so did you know about me getting voted out? Completely honest.
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes.
Would you have actually wanted to go with me further, or were you kind of just being like, oh, I'm going to let this plan happen and then kind of play the middle between like Phil and then the other side?
No, I absolutely did not want to work with the other side at all. You know, there may be questions on my social game as far as Kyle S. and Josh goes, because we never talked. I never was interested in building a relationship with them. I didn't want to talk to them. You, and like you said, it's not miscongeniality, but unfortunately, sometimes I found myself playing a likable, like trying to be with the people that I liked. And so when it came down to your vote, I knew you were getting voted out, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to get the vote flipped on me. I was in no position. I was at the bottom. I was in no position to like say anything. If you guys were trying to take each other out, I was letting it happen. But I absolutely 100% at that point was trying to vote with you and Phil and to work with you and Phil going forward.
No, I respect that because in your initial speech, you didn't really own up to the fact that you were a part or knew my blind side. And I was just sitting there. I was like, damn, dude, like, I would respect the hell out of you. Just admit it. Just admit it. And so going forward, like, Kyle, don't pander for your votes. Please. Please don't pander for your votes. This is your time to push. This is your time to try to win everyone over. I truly think that you would be a good winner of this game. I also think Jordan would be a great winner of this game, you know? But be 100% honest. Be ruthless. Tell the people not what they want to hear, but the honest truth, because that is what will win you the game. Show how you were cut, please.
Okay.
With Jordan, once again, I was very impressed with how you played the middle. I thought that Corey vote was excellent. I thought you did a great job playing the middle. I respected you a lot with that. But at the end of the day, I kind of saw you as like a passenger instead of someone driving. So what move were you driving, would you say? What was your move in the game that you can be like, this was 100% me. I made this decision. I got this person out because I wanted them gone.
That's a really good question. So you're right. For most of the game, I was some sort of passenger just because it seemed like that the people that were throwing names out and the people that were being seen as the biggest threats were the ones that were getting taken out. Like for you, for example, you were one of the people that was like, we need to get Corey out. We need to get Corey out. We need to get Corey out. And then after that, then the perception of you became this enormous target and that you had to go. I would say a move that I did on my own would be the golden vote move at the final 6 with Kyle S. I recognized that after talking with Steve that we needed to defeat this idol some way, because had Kyle S. idled himself there and avoided getting voted out at the final 6, he could have easily won that final 5 and that final 4 immunity, and he would sweep every single vote of this jury, and we all know it. So I had to do that in collaboration with Steve and with Jeremy to get that move done. So that way, any one of us had a shot to win this game. So I had to do that move. And then going off of that, I realized that Jeremy was becoming a bigger and bigger, his resume was just growing and growing. It was getting bigger and bigger. So at the final 5, Steve and I were like, hey, we can't take Jeremy to the end. Jeremy will beat us at the end. So we did that really ruthless blindside at the final 5 to take Jeremy out, because had it been Steve, myself, and Jeremy at the end, I think Jeremy gets the votes and beats all of us. And my goal was to make sure that if I was sitting next to 2 goats, myself being included as a goat from the procession of everybody, I wanted to make sure it was the right 2 goats.
I will say this, you were definitely, from the opening speech, I thought of you less as a goat in the game. I thought it was very impressive how you played a middle. And so my vote's still up in the air. It's not completely over, but like I am proud of how you played and how you got to the end.
Thank you.
Huge. One of my biggest things in life that I think is most important is respect. Having respect for people, kind of being a straightforward person. And even at the end of the day, you were a part of my vote, yes. How you approached that vote was really shitty. Really shitty. This whole entire game, you're saying you had an amazing social game, but as someone who worked close with you the majority of the time, you were the worst person to work with. You were constantly indecisive. You never knew what you were doing. You were constantly saying you will only vote for these 2 people, which, by the way, was Kyle D and Jordan. Now look where you are. And so, yes, you are allowed to be deceptive. You were allowed to lie in this game. That's completely fine. I'm not mad at anyone. Josh was one of the people I know who led my blind side. And Josh came and I said, good fucking job, dude. I think Josh did a great job with that blind side. I think Jeremy, though I did not like his game in the beginning, I told him straight up, dude, I respect the hell out of your game. Steve, I can't say the same for you. You were like that annoying scum inside of your tooth that you try to floss out and can never get out. You were the popcorn kernel that gets stuck in the back of your throat that you can never get rid of. And you know what, Steve? You are more submissive than a beta, because at the end of the day, whenever I try to ask you to do something, you would not help. Nothing. And so my question to you is, are you like this outside the game? Because I hope not. I hope that you are actually have more respect for people than the respect that you showed me. Because you can tell me all you want that you actually cared about me, that you actually liked me. But the morning before my eviction, I had a moment with you. I actually started crying because I had a really hard life situation and I have to be able to pay for something that I don't have the money to afford. I was completely honest with you. I broke down in front of you. And what did you do later that day? You didn't even give a shit. You turned around and you're like, I'm going to get Bailey out of this game. And if you did it on a social level, if you did it on a game level, I didn't care. But that didn't feel like game to me, dude. It was not. So please, are you like this to people in real life? Because I don't respect it. And I don't think that at this point you can get my vote. Because it wasn't personal with anyone else in this game. No one else. Except with you, because you were pandering this whole time. You were being like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. Every single tribal council, it was like a politics game. Like, I understand you don't want to give away your position in the game, but come on, dude. Like, own up to your shit. You say you were running this game. And once you got to merge, no, dude. When people want to take you to the end, it's because you're a freaking GOAT. Not because you're the greatest player of all time. You're not a Sandra. You're not. You're not a Sandra. You didn't get to the end because you were the absolute best player in this game who was playing undercover this whole time. Yes, you could have saved me. Yes, you had the ability to save people once in a while. But at the end of the day, you weren't running any of the votes. You weren't in the driver's seat. I at least believe Jordan and Kyle had contribution. You just went along with the ride, I felt like. Maybe except for a few votes. You can say, I disagree, and that's completely fine. But at the end of the day, I can't give you my vote because you didn't have the respect to give me at the end of the game. So I just hope that you are not like this in your real life. And I hope that you own up your shit. Maybe we can have a conversation after this game and talk things through. Because honestly, dude, I'm not butthurt about anyone else in this game, even those who betrayed me, except for you. So that's all I gotta say.
Did you want a response or?
I mean, you can respond if you want.
Okay. Bailey, first off, obviously we had a strong personal connection for you to open up to me personally. That is to the contribution of my social game with you. Yes, maybe I play a little flighty or whatever, but that was to make my target smaller. I was a huge target the whole time pre-merge. I had to play what I had to do to make my target smaller because everyone in this game was a huge target. Phil, Jeremy, Kyle S., you. Like, I was in,
if you're saying that you had to make your target smaller when your target was already small around all of us, that just makes you a GOAT. That doesn't make you an impressive person to take to the end.
I took myself to the end. I voted the people out who I wanted to vote out. I made decisions for myself. I was not a beta. In real life, I'm a dentist. I worked hard for what for my career. I did not just sit around and just expect a dental degree. Like, I'm a hard worker and I worked hard my whole life, okay? And for you to say you don't respect me, it's like, I respect you as an individual, and if you're gonna—
I didn't respect your crocodile tears. I didn't respect you breaking down every single time we talked. I didn't respect those things, Steve. The fact that you made yourself the victim the whole entire game. You literally cried at one of the tribal councils to try to get sympathy. I don't respect that. I don't. There's a difference between having a game situation and kind of trying to bring personal life. And yes, I brought my personal life in with you one time. I did that. I own up to that. I should have kept it separate from game, but you made yourself the victim from beginning to the end. You're like, oh my God, I was constantly on the bottom. I had to constantly play from the bottom. Boo-hoo, I was the biggest target. Steve, that's playing victim, and that's just proving the point that you were a victim and a beta this whole entire game. This whole entire game.
I wasn't. Like,
you want, that's completely fine. You don't have
okay, well, this is the thing. I had to play the game from the position I was given. You know what I mean? Like, I tried to change it with you and Phil. Like, obviously I did. I did not just, I'm not just going to do what you tell me to do. Like, I voted you out for a strategic reason. Yes.
You whined every single time we talked. Oh my God, I don't think I can vote this person out. It's just going to hurt me to do it. Like, I can't do that. I don't respect that. How can
I still voted you out when I felt bad about it. That was not Yes, I care about people. Like, I'm a dentist. That's
That was
what
after I
people-
ripped you a new asshole when we talked. I know after you ripped you a new asshole, I know that you went to people an hour before tribal and was like, yeah, let's get rid of Bailey. Let's do it. That's what I was at least told. So I don't think that it was your intention until I pissed you off.
You did not. How did you piss me off?
I literally was talking to you all that day and was getting mad at you because you couldn't make a goddamn decision.
I made a decision. I just did not want to tell you because you would vote me out. Like, I made a decision to work with Kyle S. and Josh because you and Phil have lied to me, and my connection with Josh and Kyle.
They literally lied to you the vote before. Shut up. They lied to you the vote before. You can't use that lying as an excuse, dude. Like,
I had a stronger alliance with them. Is what, from my position, I trusted.
That's the first time I've heard you say you had a strong alliance with them. Honestly.
Well, why would I tell you that?
We're in the final three.
This
is the time to present your story. Obviously, that's a pivotal part in your story that you're not presenting. Just saying.
Okay, well, I had alliances with a lot of people. I was really close to Jeremy. I was really close to Kyle S. I was close to Josh. And when the opportunity presented itself, I aligned with Kyle D and Jordan. My game was flexible. I was not tied to anyone. No one was going to bring me down. I did what I had to do. And like,
throughout the whole entire game, everyone told you that you were the easy goat to bring to the end.
Everyone told me that, but I still play the game. I still feel like I have a chance to win.
You played for third.
Okay, well, you played for eighth.
At least I would rather go out as a strong player that's respected than go to the end as a goat, as someone who is a submissive little asshole.
Okay, well, congratulations. Hope you feel good with your jury speech.
I mean, I feel great about it, honestly. So,
right. Does anyone have anything else to say, or can we move on? Everyone good?
Gladly move on.
All right, yeah, let's move on. It's probably best. So after Bailey, Kyle S., you have the floor.
Do I really have to follow that up?
Depends on how you want to follow it up.
All right. So congrats to all of you. I was constantly saying from Final 10 onwards, I'm like, guys, we can't let Jordan, Kyle, and Steve make the Final 3. They're going to make the Final 3. And all of them let you get here. None of us listened to that, and you did it. So congrats, because I was saying we can't let this happen the whole time, and you guys still made it. Jordan, we've had like varied results on what people think your social game is. A lot of the jurors have said your social game was great. Some have said it's not so great. And I think it's because they're valuing just different aspects. Like, what do you think is the most important aspect of a good social game?
I think for a game like this, the most important aspect of a social game, at least for me, is how much after I have a call or a text message with you, how much more do you trust me now? Even the round that Bailey went home, I still was able to divulge a bunch of information about my game to her, so that way she trusted me more. And I was at a point in that Final 8 where I knew that I was seen as the middle man, and that her and Phil were going to try to come to me with their vote, and that you and Josh and others needed my vote as well. And that was the position I was put in. And as a person, I felt like Bailey deserved to know that at least, because we had to leave her and Phil out of the dark about why I had to lie about no voting, even though I clearly voted for Corey at that first vote of the merge. So I think that's part of why there's some disconnect that you said about my social game. I always see social game as how much can I trust this person through my social skills. But apparently other people also view a social game as how much of a personal level you get to know a person. And as I said with my answer to Michael, I am a hard person to get to know. And that's something that I've always struggled with. And I think it's something that I think even beyond tonight will be something that I will continue to work on. So I would say to long answer to a shortened TLDR, I view my social game as how much can I trust this person and how much can they trust me after a conversation, after a call.
Steve, my question for you is, you've talked about how like you were on the bottom for the beginning and post-merge after Corey was voted out, and then for the Bailey vote too, that you started taking your game into your own hands. Which of those, like, what moment exactly was the most pivotal moment for you taking the game into your own hands?
The most pivotal moment was definitely Bailey leaving. After she left, the game was way easier. She made the game really hard. She was a competitor, and she had everyone's ear. Like, everything I told someone, if Kyle S knew, Kyle S told Bailey, and then Bailey would tell me or whatever. Like, the information just spread everywhere. So Bailey leaving let me have more knowledge of the game and everyone's position in this game, obviously. And I worked with anyone that I could. Obviously, that final 7, I was immune, and people voted how they wanted to vote. And I knew there were so many idols. Like, obviously, the tokens make everything so complicated. You don't want to piss someone off and get idled out. Like, it's multidimensional, like I always say. And obviously, I came up with the plan with the golden vote. Like, that was my plan to Jeremy, and we discussed it. So I was the one to give the tokens to Jordan and Jeremy, and then for them to do the golden vote. And yes, I lied to you the whole time when you were getting voted out, and you even gave me a token before you left. I got 4 black tokens throughout this game. So that's how bad I guess I burned people. Like, this is Cutthroat Survivor, and I feel like I am the most cutthroat of the 3. And I used my relationships to get me farther in this game. And through each round, it's like I assessed every single situation where what could happen and made sure I was in a good spot.
And Kyle, I only have one thing to say. Hi, it's nice to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Congrats again, guys.
All right, Kyle. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Joshy.
Hello. Congrats to you 3. Obviously, we all want to be sitting there, but we're not. Some of us you guys voted out. Some of us you didn't vote out. But my decision tonight, I think I know where my vote's going to lie, but it's not set in stone. What my questions are going to be about is game awareness. Because in my opinion, being aware is the most important part of this game. So Kyle D, I'm going to talk to you first. All right. My first thing, this is not necessarily a question, but I just want you to know that personally, I don't respect the safety without power. I understand your thought process on it. Had I been in your shoes, maybe I'd view it differently, but I'm just letting you know that personally, I don't respect that, because it's, even if it was 2 straightforward votes, you know, whether it was or wasn't, it was just sitting through that double earn. I think is a big move, bigger than skipping it. My next thing to you is you mentioned that if you had to pick one person on this jury to be an all-star, you'd pick Jeremy. I'm not saying I want you to pick me, because I don't think I'm the biggest star in this cast by any means, but I want to know why you think it's Jeremy and not someone else.
The reason why I think it's Jeremy is because there was a pivotal moment towards the end of the game where I was almost blinded by Jeremy. And what it was that I was talking with, so Phil had just played his advantage on Jeremy. And I thought Phil was just an idiot at that point, right? I was like, Jeremy's not even like your closest friend at all. And then I'm talking to Steve on a call, and then Steve says, Jeremy is my #1 ally. Like, Jeremy's my best friend in the game. Jeremy's going to be my friend outside of the game. Jeremy and I are on calls for hours. And I had no inkling, and I know you talked about awareness, but I had no inkling that Jeremy and Steve were that tight. And then, so that's really where I feel like everyone was like, Jeremy was like, he just had this ability to play this amazing social game where everyone just wants to be his best friend. Like, I think I spent the most time with calls with Jeremy, you know, and
Okay.
I know from pre-merge he was a target, but everyone kept him around because I think everyone liked him.
All right, and you know, being able to say, "Hey, there's this thing going on I didn't know about," I think that's also an important thing. You know, it's important to own where you may have felt fallen short. And then one last thing I have for you, Kyle, is you mentioned that at the Bailey vote, you voted for me because you knew, or you were hoping that Bailey would idle, or an idol would get played for her. Are you aware that whether you voted Bailey or voted for me, it would have been you going home had Bailey idled?
Yeah, I mean, I realized that, and I talked about that, and that's, I mean, I really struggled with it, but I was choosing a team, I was choosing a side, and I wanted to be loyal.
I just wanted to address that because you had mentioned earlier in part of one of your answers to someone that was why you threw the vote on me, and I just wanted to make sure that.
And
yeah,
and then
Okay.
just so you're aware, and just so I can clear this up, if I may, I felt like at that moment, like you were only talking to me because it involved getting Bailey out. I feel like we had no relationship, and had like Bailey gone, I didn't feel like I was going to work with you either. Like,
I mean, I don't hold that against you. I mean, I understand that it's how the numbers went. Best of luck to you tonight.
Thanks.
Jordan, I'm gonna talk to you next. First thing is, I'm pleasantly surprised with how confident you are coming into this. I think that, you know, anything but the level of confidence you're bringing right now is a detriment for anyone sitting in your shoes. My question for you, it's the same question, but I'll ask it twice. With the Roma vote, who do you give the most credit for that for?
I give the most credit.
Who do you think out of everyone on that tribe, who do you think put that move together more than anyone?
Well, there's 3 people that I would give the most credit.
Just give me one name. That's all I want. Just one name. I'll let you cheat and do 2 names.
2 names?
2 names.
I would say Gwen would have been my initial answer.
Okay.
And then probably you.
Me? The person who wasn't supposed to know it was happening?
Here's the thing. Well, here's the thing with it.
Okay.
Was the reason Gwen was supporting that vote was because us 3, even though you act like, oh yeah, I wasn't involved in the vote, that was merely a barrage. Because I don't know if other members of ACOD that are here that want to discuss this, was that Kyle, Les, Josh, and myself were a 3-sub for most of that cycle there in the pre-merge. The reason I bring up Gwen is because it could have easily been Julian that was the person we were going to throw the votes on to keep me. However, she was the one where we threw out Roma's name, and she was perfectly fine with throwing out Roma. And that was the reason she was important. You 2 even told me in our 3-way call right after you guys divulged information that Roma was gunning for me, is you said that Gwen needs to be your best friend today. So what did I do? I made sure Gwen was my best friend that day.
And that part right there, that I think is more important than saying it was me. I don't need you to pander to me. I like you. You're good. My next question to you, not to rush you. I got things I got to say to Steve too, and I know I'm on time limit.
Yeah. Sorry.
The Corey vote. Mm-hmm. One name. I know that you hyped it up as your thing. One name. Who do you give the credit to for that move?
I wouldn't say I was the most important part of that vote. Obviously, I was just the role I was playing in was as the middle. I would say the person.
Well, no, and you played your role very well. But if there's one person who could have walked into Final Tribal and claims credit over anyone else for that move, who is it? Or who do you think it is?
I would say it would either be Bailey or Phil, because without either one of them, I think it would have been hard to get that vote onto Corey, because they were willing to flip onto Corey. Because remember, when we were merging, there was the Power 4 that was Kyle, S, myself. It was perceived Kyle, S, myself, Michael, Gwen, and then that Power 4 for Kotope was Philip, Bailey, Kyle, D, and then Corey. So for those 2 to be like, we're cutting ties with Corey, we can't work with Corey. Mm-hmm. That was why they
Okay.
were probably the most pivotal parts because us three, we were willing to cut Corey. We didn't care.
Mm-hmm. And then my last thing, going back to game awareness, I don't need an explanation. I just want one number. When did you want to vote me out?
When I went
So I
to
know you didn't want to sit next to end with me. What round did you want to take me out?
probably the final 5.
Okay, thank you. Best of luck to you, Jordan. Right now, I will say you're the front runner for my vote. It is subject to change, though. Steve, how you doing, buddy? I've been taking some notes. All right, first thing, you're hyping up your social game, right? If there's 2 things I value, it's a good social game. Well, I value a lot of things, but I like social game and game awareness. All right, so putting those 2 together, do you know why I gave you my black token?
I would assume maybe to make sure I'm less of a target.
Nope.
Maybe.
So a lot of people have talked about you being an emotional player, right? And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I disagree with that. All right, because I do believe that you've played this game emotionally. And I spent that double earn round being an emotional wreck, and I ended up making an emotional decision. Even if I had been successful and Phil went home, I'd still look back and think, well, I was emotional. I was a dumbass for doing that. And I told you that. I told you flat out, I was like, look, I was not in a good place that day. And, I put the game on the back burner and I let whatever happened happen. And no matter how many times I told you that, you repeatedly brought it up. And every time that you brought up that vote and said, well, if you had told me about the Phil vote, I would have done this or that or this, it made me want to work with you less and less and less. And the amount of times that you brought that to me, it was a no-brainer for me to drop my black token on you. All right? Going back to that emotional stuff, I have no problems admitting that double earn round was emotional for me. But yet you seem to have you seem to lack the capability to say that voting Bailey out was an emotional decision for you. Right? But I know firsthand that it was completely emotional for you. Am I wrong?
It was an emotional decision, but it was some logic as well.
Okay. If
like Bailey is
in my opinion, right? I spent that entire round. I already knew that Jeremy would vote Bailey out. I knew Jordan would vote Bailey out. I knew Kyle would not. I wanted you to be on board to vote Bailey out, but you refused until an hour before Tribal when you come to me breaking down saying, I can't take Bailey anymore. I can't take her anymore. I want to vote her out. How is that not an emotional decision? If it was strategic, you would have been on board from the start.
This is the thing. There was only 2 options. It was Caldi or Bailey. Like, those were my 2 options. They were not voting Jordan. So, from a game point of view, like
Kyle and I would have voted Jordan out.
Kyle asked, well, you guys didn't say you were voting Jordan. You guys voted Caldi. So, Bailey was a big threat. And I talked to Caldi right before the vote. I was like, hey, dude, who do you want out in this game? Like, our options are we can vote Jordan or we can vote Bailey together. And we came to a conclusion like Bailey out for a game is the best.
And yet he put my name down. So how is that good for you?
Well, Cal D voted how he wanted to vote, but when we talked, we agreed on Bailey. Even during tribal council, we were voting Bailey. And I voted Bailey. Like, I knew votes were going to be on Bailey. I knew from right when Final 8 happened because Jeremy was trying to get Bailey out. Like, I knew Jordan and Jeremy wanted Bailey out. Like, it was obvious. That's why I knew I had to jump ship. Like,
well, so it
Bailey
sounds to me like you didn't want to vote Bailey out there. Right now, what it sounds to me is like you're backpedaling. Right?
I would,
like
from my
tried
position,
to claim
from my position, I was aligned with Bailey. Obviously, if I could keep an alliance member, I want to see my options because I could work with Bailey. I haven't talked to Caldi or Jordan, so keeping them in this game might not have been the best. But obviously, Jordan and Caldi have been people I can possibly beat at the end. So
Steve,
logically,
had you been in control of this game or had awareness of how the game was going at the final 8, you would have realized that you could have very easily worked to keep Bailey in the game, right? Had you, right, you were very adamant that you didn't want to tell Kyle, but if you wanted to keep Bailey, you would have told Kyle. Had you wanted to keep Bailey, you would have known it would have been 4 votes Bailey, or it was supposed to be 4 votes Bailey, 2 votes Kyle D. You would have thrown your vote onto Kyle D, forced that tie, Bailey would have stayed in a revote, right? There were plenty of things that you could have done if you wanted to save this ally, right? You can't.
I didn't want to save her.
You just told me you wanted to save her. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Like
you either wanted to vote her out or you wanted to save her.
It was a 2-day round. The first day, right when it happened, once it was blindsided, when you guys tried to take out Phil, my instant reaction was like, me, Phil, Kyle D, Bailey. Like, we have to stick together. And then once I thought about it throughout that night, I was like, this does not make sense. I need to work with Josh and Kyle S. So the next day, that's what I did. It's a 2-day process. It's not like you don't make a decision off of a whim. Like, I thought about it, and I chose, like, when I talked to you and Kyle S on call, I was like, I want to work with you guys.
So
like,
at what point
I'm
in the
not
round?
working with Phil and Bailey.
At what point in the round did you decide that you wanted to vote out Bailey?
It was literally the morning of when I talked to you. I was like, I think I'm leaning towards getting rid of Bailey. But I need
You didn't tell me that you wanted to vote out Bailey until an hour before tribal council.
That was when
Otherwise,
that was when I was 100% voting out Bailey.
even that morning, you didn't want to do it. I proposed it to you, and you said, no, I don't want to do it.
I said, let me think about it. Like, I don't really want to do it, but, like, let me think about it. Like, I had to think through the options. There's so many things that could go wrong. Like, Phil had an immunity and all this other stuff.
He wasn't playing it for Bailey. He wasn't going to play anything for Bailey.
It was possible.
He wasn't going to do it.
Well,
I doubt it.
But, like, this is Phil and Bailey were like a duo. They shared tokens and whatever. Like, they were, like, you never know.
Kyle and I were a duo. I would not play an idol for him when he has one in his pocket.
You guys were after each other, like, the whole time. Phil and Bailey were, like, way closer.
Okay. Steve, like I said, I'm going to tell you the same thing I told them. Best of luck. I hope all 3 of you, Kyle, Jordan, and Steve, I hope you all understand that I respect each of you as individuals. I may not respect all of your gameplay as much as I respect some others, but please don't take any of what I've said on a personal level, right? I don't wish any ill will on any of you, except that Kyle S guy. Fuck him. I'm just kidding, Kyle. Love you. That's that. Best of luck to you guys. Just please, with whatever time you have left in Final Tribal, please own your game. Don't try and hide shit or backpedal or any of that stuff. Say what you did and fucking own it.
All right, thank you, Josh. So we have one more juror, the one person on this cast that would make all-stars out of all of you, Jeremy. So Jeremy, take it away.
All right. How's it going, Tribe?
It's going great.
Great. You guys not catch it? All right. Well, I got something else planned instead of talking, at least to begin with. So let's go ahead and watch a video together. If I can find it. Look.
I gotta say, this better be good.
It's half finished because, of course, I'm overly ambitious on everything.
Is it a porn?
Let me see your.
I wish there was sound.
You guys want some background music?
That even work?
We saw, we just couldn't hear.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Of course. That's
Was
the
there-
opposite of what happened earlier in the game. Yeah, I was playing the Wizard of Oz song in the background. All right. Well, that was supposed to be more complete. But okay, basically, I'm calling you guys the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion, essentially. So, Scarecrow, I'm not actually calling you brainless, but I will flat out say, like, at the final 8, when I, like, went over the pitch, it has to be a combination of me, you, Kyle D, and Steve at the end. And your immediate response to that was, okay, so let's get Steve out this round. Definitely boggled my mind. And then at the final 7, I mean, your plan made sense as far as like Kyle S was going from your perspective. However, like that wasn't the actual plan. So I guess because Josh didn't end up asking it, I have to ask you now. I go home that round because that's the alternative. Kyle S was never going home that round. It was me or Josh going home. If I go home, they all still have their idols. How do you navigate getting this 3? Because you absolutely needed this 3 to
How to
win.
navigate it?
Yeah,
So,
how do you get Kyle S, Josh, and Phil all with idols out of the game in the next 3 votes?
well, obviously, Kyle S was pretty confident at the final 6, no matter what. Had Kyle S thought that he had Josh in his back pocket, which he didn't, and he had me in his back pocket and other people, I think he still probably would have not played any of his idols, and he probably still would have gone at 6, potentially. At 5, that's when I would have taken my shot at Josh. And then, again, me beating Phil at the final 4 there. However, really, I mean, that's probably would have been. I mean, the road to the final 3 for me would have been much harder at that point. But I told you that when at first I was really upset with you on why you went and blindsided Josh like that. However, when you explained it to me, I was more on board with it. And that was growth for me because I was really upset after that and you knew it. So, yeah.
Tin Man. I feel like, I mean, I like you a lot and you know that. But I feel like you might not put as much heart into this game as either of the people sitting next to you. Like, I know you didn't put much effort into talking to Kyle S or Josh, and I know there are only 2 votes on the jury, but that's part of the social game. And just bear with me on this. Like, you didn't have the heart to, like, own your moves while we were playing. Like, multiple times, why lie about your vote and say you're voting for Phil at 6, for instance? Oh, was it Phil? Yeah, you tried to claim Steve's vote. That was at 7. It was one of them. At 7.
Like voting for Phil?
Like you voted for Jordan, but you lied. You were trying to claim that you voted for Phil.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
That was gonna work.
Let me address the first part of your question. I'm sorry. So the first part of your question, you know, and I know like that's obviously a big regret that I have, was like not talking to Josh and Kyle S more. I will, you know, own up to the fact that I did try at Merge to talk to Josh, and he was like, "No, I'm busy," because he had plans, obviously, to blindside me on the vote. And like at that point, like I was just like, "Why are we even trying here anymore?" And then same thing with Kyle S. Like we weren't on the same side. I was gonna vote him out as soon as he didn't win an immunity. He was never gonna work with me. I don't want to be fake. I don't care to get to know what he's studying. I don't care to know what college he's going to. I'm about to vote him out. I just don't give a fuck. So I'm not gonna spend an hour on a phone call with somebody I just don't care, you know? And I do apologize that we never were able to bond. As far as like why I lied on that Jordan vote, I felt like the way where people were, like I knew everyone knew I was full of shit, but I felt like if I did it, it would be like, it would put me in a situation where people, I'm sorry, I'm trying to come out with how I want to say this, but like, I just felt like it was necessary at the time to just start shit. Like, I just didn't want people to like team up, and I just wanted like, if anything, for them to blame Steve. I knew that people were taking Steve to the end. I knew Josh was aligned with Steve. Kyle was aligned with Steve. Like all those people he was a part of that main six. So I was like trying to like just throw some shit out there. Maybe it sticked, maybe it didn't. But if it didn't, then I felt like, oh, well, people would think that I'm not likable or something. And that's one thing that I really played up. You know, I made those pictures of Bailey and you guys as like the mean girls. And like when we talked about doing the rites of passage, you know, I was like, oh, it'll go quick for me. And then I did the Grinch gif with, you know, hate, double hate, because I didn't want to play up likability. I didn't want people to think that I was liked. I wanted people to think that I was not liked at all. And so I did little things like that to, I mean, maybe it was stupid, but I just didn't want to come across as like nice or anything like that.
Fair enough. In addition, like this was supposed to go along with that lying thing. What happened at Final 11, Kyle? You're gonna tell me one way or the
other. You know, I was with you and Gwen. We had that Bed Bath, Oxford, and Beyond alliance. And Gwen really wanted you out, and that was when Phil had messaged me, and Phil was like, well, first off, Jeremy, I want you to know, and this, I don't think this is pandering, and Gwen, this isn't pandering to you.
I don't care about pandering.
Gwen was very adamant about getting you out. I went to Julian, and I was like, I don't know if Jeremy's the right one. Like I would have left Gwen on a branch with that one. Like I would have left her out to dry with that one. I never would have voted for you that round. I was very grateful when we were able to switch it to Bailey after Phil had come to me and said it was going to be Michael. And Gwen was like, Jeremy's lying. I know it's me. And Phil's lying to you. It's not Michael. But I was like, no, I really believe it.
Okay, fair enough.
Gwen's shaking her head no. But I remember that conversation. You told me that.
Okay. I guess the last thing I was going to say is just... like, I wish you had owned it in the game. Like, that you actually knew I was going home. Because there's a world where if I won immunity at 5, I might have voted you out. Just because...
on the final note, the reason why I didn't own it in the game, Jeremy, is because at that point, Gwen was, like, on her way out because everyone was apparently against her because she was super alien monster beast. And Jeremy, at that point, you were my only source of information. I had to do whatever I could to get you to still trust me. And
I understand what you're saying. I would have trusted you more if you had admitted it. I had enough details to know that you knew something. Well, yeah, I understand what you're saying, though. Cowardly Lion. I definitely came up with this because of you, Steve. okay, you had the most potential to win the game of the people here, as far as I'm concerned anyway. Like, I really do think you're a better player than Jordan and Kyle, generally, at least. But I think you squandered it more than anybody here. All you had to do at Final 8 was say, I want to win the game. And you would have bought at least a little respect. Instead, I think Bailey probably summed it up better than I'm ever going to. Like, you just kind of went along and said that, no, I don't want to win the game. I don't want to win the game. So, yeah, everybody's trying to take you to the end because you made yourself into the GOAT. You did it to yourself. Like, I don't know why you're so upset about it now. Like, you were telling me during the game you didn't care about winning. You just cared about being there, and you got there. But I just don't understand, like, why you think we would vote for you now.
I did care about winning. I'm a very competitive person. I play board games, and I always try my best to win games. Like, the reason to play games is to win. I just told people what they wanted to hear, because when people tell me, like, I want to take you to the end, it's because they think they can beat me. So what am I supposed to say? Like, oh, no, like, wait a minute. I can definitely beat you. Like, they're not going to be like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't take Steve now. Like, maybe he has more of a game that people don't know about. And that's why I just pretended that I had no chance. But I felt like I did have a chance the whole time. And I just tried to minimize it because the targets went home round after round after round after round. That's what the nature of the game was, at least in our season. The threats went home back to back to back to back. And I didn't want to be a bigger threat than whoever was going to go home. And that's what I had to do to make it further in this game.
I get what you're saying. I mean, you do know if anybody had made it to the end other than you three, though, that person would win the game every time.
Yes, that's why
okay.
We went to the end together.
Okay. What else do I got? Okay, this is more a question, even though we're still on Steve, a question to Kyle and Jordan. Steve, you constantly, like, vilified people after you voted them out and made it, like, told me it was their fault and this is why, X, Y, and Z. Did he do that for me at all? I want to know from Jordan and Kyle.
I will say, I think the three of us had an understanding that you, like, I'll just go for, like, my perspective, and then I'll kind of answer your question, and I'll do it as quickly as I can. At the Final 8, there were perceived the 4 threats to win the game. The big 4 was Josh, Phil, Kyle S., and Bailey. And then you are kind of seen a little bit as a GOAT just because you had a little bit of erratic gameplay. But then once you started turning it on at the Final 8 and the Final 7 and the Final 6, it got to a point where your target and your viability to win just grew exponentially. So it was imperative that at the Final 5, when we knew that Phil was going to idle himself, that one of the three of us had to win that immunity. And I made sure I was the one that won that immunity. So to answer your question about if Steve vilified you, I just think we all had the understanding that if you made it to the Final 3, you were going to win the game. And it was something that we all had to do to get to the spot. Because you're right.
That's not exactly what I'm asking. I'm asking, like, after I'm gone, is he talking shit about me? That's what I'm asking.
I mean, it was just the kind of like, oh my gosh, we made the Final 4. Like, we did this. It wasn't anything from my point of view. Maybe Kyle has something different.
No, I don't have a different point of view. In fact, I think Steve, unless it was not presented to me, he felt bad voting you out. And again, we went on call right after you and I went on call during your tribal, and Steve said he felt bad, and that's when Steve was like, oh, he's my closest ally. And I said, that's funny because he's my closest ally too. And then Phil was like, oh, he's my closest ally too. And I'm like, okay, well, he's got to go.
All right. So, basically, for a strategic game, I need to know you, like, actually formed, like, this alliance of 3. Because I really do think if I go home at 7, I have a hard time believing the 3 of you can get here together. So I need to know, because anything you guys did before 7 is almost canceled out in my mind, just because, like if I hadn't been able to save myself that round with Kyle S's help, like I just don't think you three would have gotten here together, and at that point you can't win. So I need to know who created your 3-person alliance, because I think that's the most important move for any of the three of you.
I think once Phil played that final 5, the final 6, when you played the 50-50 coin on you, I think all 3 of us, one way or another, told each other that we needed to take the other 2 to the end. I don't think it was necessarily one person being like, this is the final 3. This is the road we need to take. So I would say, if you want a truthful answer, it's about 33% between all of us. But I was taking Steve no matter what.
Yeah, another thing that I'll add to that, never a group chat between Jordan, myself, created. In fact, there was one created between the 3 of us, and it was literally created as soon as Phil dropped his cup in the immunity challenge. So that's, I mean, if you look at who was in the final 7, final 6, obviously we were going to go together. Like we never even had talked to it. I think I maybe spent 5 minutes on a call with Jordan, but you just knew who you were taking to the end. Like you knew I wasn't going to sit next to you. I certainly wasn't going to sit next to Josh. I certainly wasn't going to sit next to Phil. And so that's kind of where you end up with that, you know? If I had it my way, I would have voted out Steve pre-merge. But obviously, if we came down to the 7 people that were left in the game, I don't want to sit next to anyone else but these 2.
Got anything, Steve, or no?
I mean, it was obvious, like, me and Kyle D, we talked about going to the end together at Final 8, and then Jordan also, me and Jordan talked about it, like, maybe Final 6, Final 7, and then collectively we just, you know, it's like the obvious path for each of our games, and if you guys were in each of our shoes, you would have done the same thing. It's not, like, rocket science, I guess. But, you know, this game has many layers, and yeah, I'm an emotional person, but I definitely made logical decisions even throughout the heat of my emotions, and I did my best, for sure.
Fair enough. On a lighter note, Jordan, I wish I would have talked to you more. Roasting you a little bit here. You want to hang out next time I'm playing cards in Reno. Lastly, winning Survivor isn't about being the best player. I don't think any of you are the 3 best players here, but it is about being the best player that makes it to 3, so congratulations to whichever one of you does win.
All right. Thank you, Jeremy. All right, so that's a lot to take in. We've heard from all the jurors. We're going to give you guys each a chance in a moment to address the jury for one final time. Closing statements for 3 minutes. Before we get that, thank you to all the jurors. And without you guys, you know, we'd only have half a season. So glad you were here. So Jordan, Steve, Kyle, again, congratulations. You were the 3 that made it to the end of the game, so one of you will win. You outlasted everyone else on the jury. So no matter what they say, your number's going to be better than theirs. So, all right. Welcome back after that break you had to think about, you know, what you want to say, final 3. It is now time to make your speech. It's a 3-minute speech. CMAC will definitely mute you after 3 minutes. So we are going to start in opposite order we went, which means we are starting with Jordan. Jordan, your 3 minutes. Go ahead. Take it away.
All right. So once again, thank you, production. Thank you, everybody. I thought this was a really great, constructive talk tonight. So why should you guys go for me? I think out of the final 3, I played the strongest game. I understand that of this entire merge group, I may not have played the strongest game. I think there's definitely a lot of people that if they were sitting in the final 3 tonight, that they would win. Those people were Kyle S., Jeremy, Bailey, Phil, and Gwen. Those people would have legitimately won this game had they sat in the final 3. However, I recognized And other people recognized that these people needed to get out, because if any of them sat in the final 3, they all would have won. And that was my strategy. Once it got to the final 8, my strategy was, how do I get to the end and not only just make it to the end, but make it to the end with 2 people that I know I can beat. And I think I did that with Kyle D and Steve. I think we recognized that at many times they were perceived as GOATs. I was perceived as a GOAT, but I felt like I had more agency by playing the middleman game, being in alliances, being on the majority of the good majority of these votes. And there was people that told me Kyle D was the biggest GOAT, Steve was the biggest GOAT. They even told me to my face that they were GOATs. So if you want somebody that represents the season well, that played a strong game, that did the best that they could and had won immunities and did what they had to do to make it to the end, I feel like I would be a great winner. And I really hope that I get your guys' vote. Thank you for everything this season. And hopefully let's make the best fan win here.
All right, thank you. So next we have Kyle.
Hi guys. So this season was definitely called Risk versus Reward. And really every round I had to ask myself, does the risk outweigh the reward? I know many of you felt like this twist diluted the pure form of Survivor. And, you know, if I believe this season, Phil, you talked about like, what's this story arc? Underdogs. Underdogs really is this story arc. If this was the real Survivor and we all go home tonight and they have to edit this season, they're going to edit it as the underdogs. Honestly, there are 8 huge threats sitting on that jury right now. And the underdogs are here in the end. And so once the final 8 hit, my token count my token count in the entire game never surpassed 6. Once final 8 hit, I had 0 tokens. I had to play this game in the purest form. And that was watching all of the big threats.
I thought I froze. It's like Jordan hasn't frozen once. This is a miracle. Well, while we wait for Kyle D to come back.
Had to play this game in the purest form. I didn't get to have the idols or the advantages or the extra votes. And so I just had to navigate with that. And so I asked the jury tonight to take the biggest risk of all and reward me the sole survivor tonight of Cutthroat. And if nothing else, vote for Kyle D because y'all could use a little D in your lives.
All right. And last and certainly not least, Stevie, take it away.
Hello, everyone. This was a heated tribal council, which was fun. I just want to say I definitely played the hardest I could, and even if it falls on deaf's ears, I'm proud of my game, and I have no regrets. I think I played the most cutthroat game. I cut alliances that really trusted me, and yes, it was an emotional, hard decision for me because I don't like hurting people, but this is a game. This is Survivor. It's not patty cake. It's not hokey pokey. I really did play with a lot of passion, a lot of emotion, and, you know, like, I try to be who I am, which is a very personal person. I use what I had, my social skills as being a dentist, being able to read people, being someone that people trust. And this, I brought it to the game, and this game is just a game. And I enjoy playing with all of y'all. Nothing is personal, and I hope you all have a great time during this pandemic. Thank you for your time, and I wish you all the best.
All right. Well, that concludes it. The final tribal council is just about over. All that's left is the vote. One by one, you'll be going into the voting booth, and you'll be voting for the person you want to see win this game. There's 8 of you, so it takes 5 votes for majority, or just what is it, plurality? I can't think of the right term right now. Anyways,
true.
well, guys, hey guys, I'm Merle. I'm the host, and guess what? I have the votes. So we're gonna wait. This is I should have put my montage of me getting on a jet ski. But 6 months from now, when we're back in America, we will let you guys know who won. So thank you all for playing. Goodbye. Okay, fine. We'll tell you now. Actually, no. We'll read the votes right now. All right, guys. Once the votes are read, the decision is final. The person with the most votes will be the winner of Cutthroat Season 4. You guys ready, or should we wait? All right. First vote. Jordan. Next vote. Jordan. That's 2 votes, Jordan. Next vote. It says Gwen's vote, go Steve, cross out for Kyle D. 1 vote, Kyle D. So that's 1 vote Kyle, 2 votes Jordan. Next vote. Kyle D. We are tied. 2 votes Kyle D, 2 votes Jordan. Next vote. Jordan. That's 3 Jordan, 2 Kyle D. Next vote. Jordan. 4 votes Jordan, 2 votes Kyle D, 2 votes left. Next vote. Kyle D. 4 Jordan, 3 Kyle D, 1 left. The final vote. And the winner of Cutthroat, we have a tie. The final vote is for Kyle D. So that means, Steve, you have become the final juror. We will be pulling you into the voting booth, and you will determine the winner of Cutthroat 4. So you have the most power in this game, I guess. Look, you should prove them all wrong. So, 4 votes Kyle D, 4 votes Jordan.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what to do. I'm being indecisive in the beta.
Beta makes the decision. Let's see. Hey, everyone. All right, so if you're just tuning in, what you missed is the Thrilling Tribal Council where people bashed people. But more importantly, the votes were read, and at the end, the 8 votes were split evenly for Kyle D and 4 for Jordan. So the last Steve became the last juror since there was a deadlock in the actual jury, and he has cast the vote for the person he thinks should win this game, and that's the only vote that matters.
Thank you. All y'all's don't matter, but mine does.
So
I mean, it does because we gave you 3rd place.
You got me, Gwen.
okay, well, his is the only vote right now that matters for the win. So, well, who did he vote for? Let's find out. Kyle D, Jordan, your fate came down to Steve. The winner of Cutthroat Survivor Season 4 is Kyle D. Congratulations, Kyle D. You have won this game. Jordan, unfortunately, you fell 1/2 a vote short of the victory. That was, I mean, as crackpot as you guys were all season, you might as well have a crackpot finish. Jordan, obviously upset. Kyle, obviously ecstatic. Steve, mixture of emotions. There's a lot to break down, so let's all take a minute to try to compartmentalize what just happened, and we will go from there. So we are going to go to the reunion show shortly, where we're going to bring in the pre-jury and get their thoughts.